Hi, everyone. My name is Will, and I'm an alcoholic. It's wonderful to be at this meeting. Thank you, Sean, so much for asking me to speak. It's great to see you. It's been a long time. I met Sean 6 years ago at Itipa, and we had a great time doing an open mic all night. Um, so I've been sober since January 15th, 2012. And that is because of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I would not be sober today without it. Um, my home group is on Tuesdays, based in New Haven, Connecticut. It's a creative arts meeting where folks share creative work that relates to their recovery to carry the message. And we meet on Zoom. And so maybe during announcements, I can share the information if you'd like to join us sometime. 7:30 Eastern time on Tuesdays. I have a sponsor. I sponsor other people, and working the 12 steps changed my life. Growing up, my parents told me that alcoholism ran in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic, and I remember them saying things like, Will, when you get older, if you start to drink, you're going to have to be really careful because alcoholism runs in the families. And so I really thought that if I was careful enough, I would not have a problem. And I would not become an alcoholic as long as I was careful. And that was not the case. In growing up in a small town in Texas, I had overall a good childhood and a loving family, and not too much dysfunction apart from my grandparents, which definitely did have an impact on me. Um, and growing up, I felt pretty solid as far as my sense of morals, and I felt like I knew who I was, and I knew what I did and knew what I didn't do, and I was mischievous, but I've hated getting in trouble. And so I was a pretty good kid. Never got a detention or anything like that because I was terrified of authority, and just did what I was supposed to do, at least most of the time, not all the time, of course. I was pretty good at being sneaky. So I go off to college and ironically sign up to live in the substance-free dorms because at that point I'm pretty substance-free. But shortly after arriving, I try a few beers at parties, but I hadn't been drunk yet, and try a few beers here, and it's like, okay, well, I do like the taste of this. And then one day I'm sitting alone in my dorm room on Friday afternoon, and I think to myself, you know what? I'm 19. I have a beard. I could probably buy some alcohol without being carded. Let's see if this works. So I went down to a corner store, walked down to the corner store and grabbed a 6 pack of Heineken. And I didn't smoke, but I asked for cigarettes anyway because I thought it would make me look like I knew what I was doing, and I did this all the time. And they didn't card me, and then I realized I had nowhere to, because I lived in the substance-free dorms. So there was a nearby Wells Fargo parking garage, and I sat alone in a corner and started smoking cigarettes and drinking these beers. And after about four, I stood up and I was drunk for the first time, and it felt totally amazing. It was the best feeling, and I thought, damn it, because I knew where alcoholism ran in my family. I Part of me was sort of hoping that I wouldn't like it, and great, but no, I loved it, and my drinking took off from there, and it steadily progressed. And it got worse and worse, and I would stop for a while and then start again and stop for a while and start again. And it got bad quickly, especially after I turned 21 and became so much more accessible. And I was spending all this money I didn't have on credit cards that I couldn't pay off, because I loved alcohol. I loved the way it made me feel, and I wanted to do it all the time. Started smoking weed too, and that became an issue as well. But my main thing was alcohol, and it was consuming. It was, if I wasn't drinking, I was thinking about drinking. talking about drinking. Um, and really, it really took over my life in a lot of different ways. And my life started to get pretty unmanageable. I started doing things that were not legal. I started, missing, I was a theater major, missing play rehearsal, being intoxicated in class, and really being very reckless in every sense of the word, putting myself in very dangerous situations, and really not taking my care of myself in any way, shape, or form. And I knew living like this was not sustainable. I eventually realized it was not sustainable. And I went to an AA meeting in December of 2011. I had heard about this young people's meeting that actually met at the church I was attending. And I was going to church this whole time and trying to have a relationship with God, but I was also vomiting in the bathroom during the sermon, and just very, very disconnected, and going through the motions, but really in a lot of ways living like God didn't exist. Um, at least not for me in those moments. So I go to this AA meeting and I pick up a desire chip and I stay sober for exactly 24 hours. And I think, well, I accomplished that goal. And then I start drinking again and drink every day for at least a month. And yeah, then I come back to school. I'm coming back early because I've got play rehearsal and classes haven't started and no one else is back yet. So I'm just, waking up at 1 p.m., starting drinking at 2 p.m. And um, eventually, yeah, I start to realize that this is not sustainable. And my bottom, it was really an emotional bottom. I didn't lose a lot. I never failed a class miraculously. But I did not like who I was. I did not like what I was doing. I felt like I had really lost my sense of self that I felt like I had before college. Um, and yeah, I just hated how I was living and I didn't want to keep living the way I was living. It was demoralizing, waking up and not remembering things. And it was rough. So on January 15th, 2012, I decided to skip RA duty. Ironically, I was an RA. I was not a very good RA. And I decided to skip RA duty and go to my friend's concert. My friend's having a CD release party. So I go down to Sam's Burger Joint. This is in San Antonio, Texas. And I go into the situation planning on not drinking. I'm thinking, a lot of my Christian friends will be there. A lot of my underage friends will be there. They won't be drinking. This will be a great time to cut back, not drink, and just go and enjoy the music. Well, I get there and I think, well, I've never had whiskey and ginger ale, and I hear that's great. I'm just going to get one drink because I just want to try that one kind of drink. And that's the only reason I'm drinking, because I want to try whiskey and ginger ale. Well, they didn't have ginger ale. So I ordered a gin and tonic because that is how my alcoholic mind works. Even when I don't want to drink, I drink. And a friend asks me, who I hadn't seen in a while, she asked me if I was going to get drunk that night. And I kind of surprised myself and maybe her by saying, no, this is going to be my first and only. And I only had a few sips. And suddenly I had a very, very strange experience. And this was the beginning of a spiritual experience I had that night where I did not want to finish that drink. And that was very strange because I wanted to always finish my drink and finish everyone else's drinks if they weren't going to finish their drinks, and stay up after everyone had fallen asleep at the party and, occasionally drink the, half empty beer cans all around the apartment. And that's how I drank. But I suddenly didn't want to finish this drink. And then I talked to another one of my friends, and he said, "How's the drinking thing going? I know last week you were talking about doing something different." And I said, "Well, man, I've been drinking a lot lately, but I suddenly don't want to finish this one." And he said, "I won't drink tonight if you don't want to drink tonight." And I said, that would be great. So we both gave away our drinks because I didn't want to waste the alcohol. And then my friend started playing his show. And I'd heard him play by himself before, but I never heard his full band. And I was right up at the front of the stage. And I was completely caught off guard by what I call the spirit. And this is the most tangible I'd ever felt the presence of God in my life, still to this day. And I felt God breaking down these barriers and walls that I had built up in my addiction. And I felt like I almost had a fourth step in my mind's eye because I could see everything I'd done, and I felt convicted and guilty, but I also felt a wave of forgiveness, like I didn't have to do those things again. And I suddenly didn't want to drink. I actually didn't want to drink. And I had an inner knowing that I could stay sober if I relied on God to keep me sober. And I was the happiest I'd been in years. I just felt this surge of joy and freedom. And I was, yeah, weeping. And afterwards, I had some of my friends there pray for me. And I went back to my apartment and rearranged my dorm room sort of symbolically as I listened to my friend's CD. And his songs were about God. His songs were about all about God. And I think that really opened me up to my higher power that night. And so gave away my beer and wine to a friend the next day. You could tell that I was seeking God because it was St. Arnold beer and St. Thomas Aquinas wine. And I was definitely looking for God in the wrong place. And I had been to an AA meeting before, and I thought, you know what, those people seem to know how to stay sober. Because I think I probably could have stayed sober for a little while in that one experience, maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months. But I would not have stayed sober without Alcoholics Anonymous. Eventually, this insidious disease would have told me, you've been sober for 1 year, you can celebrate with a drink. But Alcoholics Anonymous has shown me a different way, a better way, and an effective way to stay sober and to live a happy life and to find serenity and peace. So I got a sponsor and I worked the steps out of the bid book. And it was life-changing. You know, I can remember feeling so much different after I shared my fifth step with my sponsor. He told me to spend an hour with God and you know, share my fifth step with God. And after that moment, you know, I came back in to the meeting, which I had skipped to spend an hour with God. And someone was like, man, you look different, Will. And I was like, well, I just did my fifth step. And it's like, that's why, you know, this program changes people, not just inwardly, but like visibly, outwardly. You know, you can see people transform when they work this program. And you know, I remember you know, doing step 7 and saying the 7th step prayer every day. And I noticed it wasn't just my actions that started changing; it was my thinking started changing. I started you know, thinking of others more and being a little less self-centered. Because when I first quit drinking, you know, it took me probably about 4 months to find a sponsor and start working those steps. And for those 4 months, I was not much of a different person. I was still doing some illegal things that I should not have been doing. And really, I hadn't really changed yet. It was just dry for a while. But the steps, they're a sufficient substitute for me to alcohol. And through the steps, through all of them, through making amends, and then with 10, 11, and 12, seeking my higher power on a daily basis, praying, meditating, journaling, gratitude lists, connecting with others, you know, being a part of the fellowship. My best friends I've ever made have been in Alcoholics Anonymous, some of the closest, best friendships. And I've been friends with some of those people for 8, 9 years, as long as I've been sober. We're really close. And that's been life-changing. And then another life-changing bit has been getting involved in service and how transformative that can be too. And then sponsoring other people and seeing them grow and transform and creating the fellowship that I crave, because I'm an extrovert and I crave fellowship. Going to conferences, WIPOC conferences, the international convention in Atlanta in 2015, that was amazing. And I have so much fun today. I sometimes I think I have more fun today in sobriety than I had as a kid, because I mean, I had a lot of fun as a kid, but I've had a ton of fun in sobriety. I've had a lot of opportunities too. You know, I've loved you know, the different careers I've had. I was a high school theater teacher, full-time musician. I was in musical improv troupe and bands, and I make music for kids and perform. And right now I'm in graduate school studying theology and religion, and loving it. You know, I met my wife in graduate school, and we got married just in August. And she's amazing and wonderful, and she works a different 12-step program. And I really, really love my life today. And, you know, it hasn't been easy. There have been a lot of highs, but also a lot of lows. You know, I've lost a lot of people really close to me. A couple of years ago, my father died from cancer, and that was really hard. And I'm so grateful that I had the fellowship to support me, and friends in the fellowship to be there for me, and tools that I learned in the fellowship of how to navigate life's challenges, how to get through the hardest things. And for me, recovery is integrated. The 12 steps are vital and essential, and a connection with my higher power is vital and essential. When I put that first, everything else pans out. And I have some outside issues like bipolar disorder, and I see a therapist and I take medication for that. And I think that without all of those together, my life would not be what it is today. And AA showed me not just how to care for others, but also how to take care of myself and love myself and accept myself. My character defects, all of those have a light side. My gifts have a shadow side, and my shadows have a light side. My character defect of wanting to hog the spotlight at times and be the center of attention. Well, the gift side of that is my gift for performances and bringing joy to people. My character defect of people pleasing. The light side of that is a genuine desire to help people. So what AA for me has done is help me to accept and love my entire self, and to not shame parts of myself that I didn't like. And through a relationship with my higher power, those parts of me that I really despised, I can accept and love. And through that radical acceptance, those parts of me are transformed. I used to try really hard to be a good person, and I couldn't just be a good person on my own willpower. I kept doing things that I didn't want to do. And an analogy that works really well is like, I have pretty bad posture. And so if I try to just do that, well, I can't really do it. Just, okay, I think about it, stand up straight, and then I slouch again. But what actually does help me with my better posture is doing posture exercises and stretches. And, there are some stretches that actually make a huge difference. And when I do that work, the posture becomes naturally better. And that's how it is with my character defects and shortcomings too. Like, when I do the work around, becoming a whole person, becoming my truest and best self, when I do that work, it becomes a lot easier. And suddenly I don't have to will myself into being a good person, because by doing the work and practicing acceptance and love and fostering that connection with my higher power, and getting guidance from my sponsor, um, I'm able to actually be the person that I want to be, and to love myself and like myself. And that's been one of the best gifts of sobriety, is just actually liking the person that I am, and feeling like I'm contributing to the world, and not contributing to destruction, but contributing to life. And music and the arts have been a huge part of that, and finding fellowship and fun and recovery and conferences. And it's a beautiful, beautiful life today. And I'm so, so grateful. And thank you, all of you, for listening and for being here. And this is this really cool meeting. I hope to be back. I appreciate all of you. And I hope that you all have a good night. Thank you for having me. That's all I got.